Bring Instagram on. Let's see. All right, here we go. We got everybody on. Happy Friday, TGIF. Thank goodness I'm fit. Um, I've got a quick and dirty live session for you today. Throughout the course of the week, first, slow down, Ren, slow down. First, let me introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, my name is Ren Jones. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm a certified corrective exercise specialist, certified nutrition coach, certified women's coaching specialist, and then I have three different coursework certifications in helping women through menopause. I coach moms over 30, women over 30 as a population. It's the only group of people that I work with as a coach. I've been doing this for about a decade now. So I'm bringing you a quick and dirty live session. I've done these live broadcasts every day this week. I'm talking to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube in my camera. I'm talking to Instagram in my phone. And what I want to talk about today is consistency. Like all my other live broadcasts this week have been specifically about negotiating the menopause transition, right? Helping the midlife woman through to thrive and feel her healthiest self through this very awkward time that unfortunately we don't generate enough information about. So many women are in the dark about how they can best continue their health journey through this time in their life. I know it's a little odd getting menopause information from somebody who looks like me, cisgendered heterosexual male, but I'm in this business because I lost several important people in my life. I lost my mother due to complications from some cardiovascular disease, which is in which increases dramatically during the menopause transition. Cardiovascular disease will kill 1 in 3 women on this planet. It's the number one killer of women in the world, and it gets more. You have a greater likelihood of having a cardiovascular incident as you get through the perimenopause to menopause to postmenopause transition. I also lost my sister to depression, anxiety, another key component of menopause. In her case, she drank, got in a car, hit a tree, and killed herself instantly. And I lost my baby sister in 2020. And I was already working in this space before then. But hopefully, that gives you some background as to why I am so passionate about helping women through their health journey at whatever point that is in their lives. Um, I've got to pay the bills before I get started with this live broadcast, though, because I'm in my enrollment week. So I am currently taking on 5 women over 30 who want to feel at home in their bodies again, build their best, build their healthiest body, build their healthiest relationship with food, and build their healthiest relationship with their body also. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, my signature 12-week program is open for the next few days. Enrollment closes on October 1st, which is Sunday. Just DM me the word live, and I'll be sure to have a quick conversation with you. We'll see if it's right for you. That aside, I want to talk about consistency today because overwhelmingly, the women that hire me will tell me that this is something that they've had a challenge with being on a wellness protocol and off a wellness protocol, being fired up to do it, feeling lethargic and exhausted, and and sort of stepping away from their own health journey. I want to give sort of 4 or 5 practical tips and maybe a little bit of philosophy that might help you reframe to better continue your own journey. So let's dive right into that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is something that you may not expect to hear from a certified personal trainer, somebody that coaches people for a living, and that is the idea of grace replacing the concept of discipline, right? And I understand discipline is important. Hear me out. I understand that discipline is important. Oftentimes, if left unchecked, discipline can very quickly devolve into self criticism, right? We get to a point where we beat ourselves up. And what I found over the course of time, and as I've worked through many certification courses that are centered around behavior change, right? Behavior modification, is that discipline sells T-shirts. Discipline discipline gets likes on Facebook. Discipline sells books. David Goggins comes to mind. If you're familiar with him, you know what I'm saying. If you're not, don't worry about it. Uh, but it's grace that extends consistency for most people, because discipline usually leads people to an all or nothing mentality. And this may be even more specifically accurate for the population that I serve, which is again women over 30, typically moms who are type A personalities. By the way, if there is such a thing as a type B personality woman, I've not encountered that woman in 10 years of me doing this, being in this business. I've just never seen it. Every woman that I've ever met is, and maybe because of what I do, every woman I've ever met in the context of my business is super driven, very, very critical of themselves, um, really interested in perfection. They want to do everything at once, right? They've got a really all or nothing mentality. And a lot of that's rooted in what we feel like might be discipline, which I actually believe to be uh, self criticism. So when I talk about grace, what am I talking about? I'm talking about your ability to forgive, forget, move on from any decision, any situation, anything you've gone through. I'll give a great example. I heard this talk from, and I can't remember the young lady's name at the moment, but she's the woman that created Girls Who Code, computer coding, right? And I heard her say this quote. She said, "We raise our boys to be courageous. We raise our girls to be perfect." And then she gave an example of what she meant by that, right? And in the example, she said, "We noticed when it came to computer coding, if we had little boys and little girls mixed in a room, we would go around the room, and sometimes the little girls would have blank screens. And we didn't know what was going on initially. So we started to ask them, and what was happening was the boys were willing to make errors and leave their errors up on the screen. They weren't doing it any better than the girls were, but the girls were so unwilling to show any lack of perfection that they would erase their entire screen rather than show errors on their screen. And we're talking like 8, 9, 10-year old boys and girls. And that's so consistent with what I see working with women as a coach, right? If I can't do the entire workout, I'm not doing any of the workout. If I didn't eat perfectly, I'm going to punish myself, right? Et cetera, on and on and on. And women really do bring that into their wellness space, right? So you make the slightest error and you throw your hands up. I messed it all up now. I might as well quit. You have a meal or something that you feel like isn't in line with your intentions for your health, throw your hands up. I may as well eat a whole cake now, right? And that's what I mean when I tell my clients and when I say in forums like this that grace is so much better for producing consistency than discipline ever will be, because discipline usually shows up as self-criticism. Women are not all women, but it's not uncommon for me to have clients who are playing the soundtrack of their youth in their head, playing the soundtrack of their ex-spouse in their head, playing the soundtrack of one really crappy teacher in their head. And that soundtrack gets louder as they make an attempt to do something like go on a wellness journey consistently. If you can do this without beating yourself up, you can get a lot more. You can generate a lot more positivity and way more results just by the nature of the fact that you're in it. Because when I talk to people about how to stay consistent in the absence of motivation, I first want them to realize that motivation is not a real thing, right? Motivation is a deadbeat parent. Motivation isn't taking you to Disneyland. Like it's not coming to pick you up for school. You're going to end up waiting on the curb for motivation to come. Motivation is Waiting for motivation is the act of jumping out of an airplane and hoping that somewhere in the air on the way down you find a parachute. That's what motivation is. It's not a real thing. It can it can, in small instances, give you a feeling that drives you to action. but it's not a consistently dependent. It's not a consistently dependent partner on any type of long-term journey. So the first tip that I want to give you in terms of how to be consistent in the absence of motivation, I guess, is twofold. Number one, realize that motivation isn't real. It's not going to come. And if it shows up, it's not going to stay. It's a temporary visitor. But number two, to realize that if you're able to apply grace to forgive yourself for whatever action you take and focus on the fact that your very next decision can be a decision that shifts your trajectory in the direction that you want to shift it, that can be a powerful, powerful tool. And in the case of working with my clients, it's one of the things that we incrementally build it into almost every single have. That's tip number one for staying consistent, even when you're not motivated. Allow yourself to compartmentalize the last choice that you made and adopt the realization that you have an opportunity to make a very next choice. And the very next choice could be exactly what you want. You know, I'm a PK, I'm a preacher's kid, right? And my father will often say in the pulpit, you're only one decision away from your relationship with God, right? And that's true. And people get caught up on something that they've done or said, and totally throws them off the path. So that's number one. Tip number two is you've got to treat your wellness journey like it's important to you, right? So things that are important to us, typically we schedule. This is something that I see really often, and this is more of a technique than a philosophy, and it works well for my clients, and that is the act of scheduling, right? Not only scheduling, but partnering with the people in your home. If a lot of the clients that I work with are moms, and they're managing an office, right? Their office just happens to be their home, and most of them are actually managing an office somewhere, and they're managing the home. But you've got all this middle management, that's your spouse probably, and you've got employees, that's your kids probably, and they have no idea of the company's agenda at any given time, right? So you're trying to bring the company to a you're trying to do a merger, right? You're out there and you're working with another company. You're going to merge and you're going to take them over. Imagine doing that, and none of the employees know that there's a merger coming. They don't have a clue. They got new people in the office, new stuff's happening, going on around them. They got no clue who these people are. How supportive are your employees and your middle management going to be to the CEO if they have no earthly idea what's going on? And so many of my clients, they initially operate in that space, and they'll come to me within a week and say, "Oh, Ren, I had to do this and that and that and this, and the kids were bonkers, and my spouse was gone, my partner was gone for all week, male or female, was gone all week, and I'll simply say, hey, does anybody know what you're trying to get accomplished? Like, do your kids know of varying ages? Do they know that you need time to work out this week? Does your spouse know that you're trying to change some eating habits?" And I'll say, "No, I really haven't talked to them about it." And I'll say, "Let me make this suggestion. Why don't you sit down with them and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Tell them what's in it for them. Here's how it's going to make everything better here for all you guys at the house. Tom, you know how snappy I was the other day? I was so angry. And I found out that these workouts really do make me feel awesome. I just feel more calm and at peace. And like oftentimes we don't enlist the service of our most immediate and most dedicated employees and colleagues, the people in our house, to let them know exactly what's going on. We don't schedule it. If you had brunch with your friends on Sunday, you tell everybody, hey guys, I won't be here Sunday afternoon. I'm having brunch with Auntie Kim and Auntie Donna, remember? And they would know, and they'd expect you to go do something. If you had a meeting at work on an off day that you're usually off, you say, hey guys, remember, I won't be here. I've got that meeting on this day at this time. So I put some stuff in the in the freezer. You guys can microwave it, and I'll see you later on that evening. Right? You let them know about that. But oftentimes we don't share our need for our movement, our need to adhere to a program that we've bought, or a coach that we've hired, or something that we're going to try out of that we saw online. Right? So allowing the people around you who are important to you to know the details of this process that's also important to you can be a game changer. And commonly what will happen is my clients will I send all of my clients a whiteboard, a just magnetic whiteboard. If you go back and check my last reel, you'll see one of my clients opening their welcome kit. But I send them a whiteboard that they can slap onto their refrigerator. I send them dry erase markers that stick to the refrigerator, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason that I send that is so that they can write out what their intentions are for the week. That's going to be another tip. We'll circle back around that to that. But in terms of maintaining consistency, your environment will drive and dictate a lot of what your success is in any given process, right? And when you're fighting against your environment consistently, it's going to wear you out. You're going to be exhausted, and you're probably exhausted already, but you're going to be exhausted trying to swim against the stream. You're swimming upstream like the salmon, right? And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself in the clutches of a grizzly bear, right? As you're jumping out of that stream. And that grizzly bear is going to be conflicts with your scheduling. It's going to be exhaustion sometimes. It's going to be the fact that you're making decisions because you can only do one of two things, and you default to the thing that's not your wellness. And believe me, I get it. My mom's single mom situation. Have a great relationship with my father. They just got divorced early. Single mom situation. She worked all the time. Thank God she provided for us. She sent us to school. I get it. But my mom, she waited to death, right? Cardiovascular incident, massive stroke, took her life, right? When she could have been partnering with us and prioritizing things. I mean, I was a teenager when she had that massive stroke. I was already in college, as a matter of fact. But the point I'm trying to make is one way to stay consistent is to employ the people around you and let them know exactly what you want to do. If you got a 5, 6, 7, or 8 year old, you guys know that if you make a promise to them, you there's no Google Calendar better than alerting a child as to something that's supposed to happen. Oh, they'll bug you every second of the day until that thing happens. Say we're going to the park this weekend, you know, 5, 6, or 7 times that week. Are we going to the park? We're going to the park. You said we were going to the park. Use that gift that they have for locking in on things and annoying you daily about it to say, Mommy's got to exercise on Wednesday. She's exercising Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and Kathy, the babysitter, is going to come over and she's going to play Lego with you guys, or Dad's going to take you outside and you're going to help him with some stuff, or what have you. Don't underemploy the people around you in your environment who could be supporting, if not at least holding space, and maybe getting out of your way for 30 minutes 3 times a week so you can do this. So when things are important, we schedule them, we announce them to the people we care about, we let them know what's going on. You can do the same thing with your wellness journey. That's tip number 2 for staying consistent, even if you're not motivated. Set the environment so when you have doubt about completing your task, the environment is going to call you to the mattresses on it, right? They're gonna ask you why you aren't. Mommy, it says on the whiteboard you're supposed to work out at 6. It's 6:05, right? That's kind of a annoying, loving help that you need. Tip number 3 is specifics about scheduling and deciding up front when your movement practice is going to happen during the course of the week. Now, this is slightly different from what I just said because the tip that I just gave was about sort of empowering and employing the people around you. But this is about you taking the time up front to plan and schedule what you intend to do during the course of the week. Another thing that I do with my clients is I send them a survey every week, every Friday, and they'll get it today. I'm going to send the survey after this live broadcast. I send them a survey and I ask them about the things that they want to do during the course of the week. Because a lot of my clients love to hike. I've got some that dragon boat race, right? I've got clients that do Pilates. I don't prescribe Pilates, it's not my wheelhouse. I've got clients that they love to go for road races, etc. So I send them a survey that asks them, okay, next week, and I send this every Friday, next week, what fun stuff for movement do you have planned? I'm going to write your workout for the week around the things that make your heart dance, right? Because another way to stay consistent is to always integrate some things that you love. As a coach, I had to learn not to be so rigid in my methodology And I had to learn to turn down the volume on my ego, right? So I now have clients prioritize the things that they love to do for movement, and I negotiate the exercises that are going to optimize their goals. I negotiate those around them. But one thing that that survey does, it causes them to think critically up front and plan for the next week, which is something we don't often do. You if you're listening to this, you're past the age where 3 hours of free time is going to show up, right? You're just sitting there, you're knock at the door and like, who is it? It's free time, right? That's not going to happen. Um, but by considering upfront when you're going to plan to do your movement practice, whatever that is, you can put yourself in a position where you have a much greater chance of accomplishing that exactly. Again, regardless of motivation. Like, I've gone to work all my life. And before that, I went to school all my life. And I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I was super motivated to go to ninth grade, right? Incredibly motivated to go to McDonald's to open on the weekend, when I was 15 years old. Like, it doesn't work that way, but we can plan it out. So, in the context of planning that out, here's a methodology that you use an implementation intention, right? And an implementation intention is a fantastic way to specifically schedule something for the future based on the situation. I'll give you an example. You could say, I'm going to work out Saturday. Or you could say, Saturday, after the kids' soccer game, but before I take Denise to her brownie meeting for Girl Scouts, I'll grab the dog and we'll walk around the block 6 times, right? That's an implementation intention. You've dictated the time, the day, the situation, and where it's going to fit. Tuesday, on my lunch hour, I'll take the first 20 minutes and walk the campus of our offices. And then the last 40 minutes, I'll sit down and I'll eat my snack, right? An implementation intention. This is when I intend to implement this thing. Friday, after work, after I take Barney for a walk. Barney's the dog, by the way. And if your son or daughter's name is Barney, I apologize. I don't mean to insinuate that they're a dog. But what day was on? I can't remember. We'll say Tuesday after work. After I take Barney for a walk, I'll come back in the house. I'll make myself a smoothie, and by 5:45, I'll have my workout clothes on, and I'll do a 20-minute workout in front of the TV with my DVDs. If they make DVDs, and I don't know. I was born in '74. I'm Gen X. Sue me. But you get the idea. That implementation intention requires great thought, specific placing, and the ability to follow through when a series of things happens. It's a great way to stay consistent. Now, you might be thinking to yourself already, Ren, what if things go off the rails though? What do I do then? We have an if then statement. So we've got two pieces of scheduling that support one another. The if then statement is also something that you write down as you write your implementation intention. So the if then statement would sound something like this: if, when I take Barney out, he's sick again like he was last Thursday and he needs to stay out longer, then I will not work out at 5:45. I'll wait until 8 o'clock when the young kids are put to bed, and I'll do 10 squats beside my bed. I'll do 10 wall push-ups, and I'll hold a plank for 15 to 20 seconds, right? Now, that may not seem like enough to you all. The next tip is coming to help with that. But you see how you have an intention and then you have a contingency. And you thought about both up front. What you're doing is you're building a system, a process to allow you to operate outside of your feelings, right? You're building a process to allow you to operate outside of your own psychology, what you normally would do based on how you feel in any given time. You're building structure. Let's go to the next tip. The next tip involves what I just said about doing 10 bodyweight squats beside the bed, 10 wall push-ups, and a 15 or 20-second plank. And that is the idea that everything every deposit into an interest bearing account compounds in interest except for what deposit? Except for zero. If you go back and look at all the times in your life, maybe the years in your life, when you did not move your body for health and you replaced every one of those times with 5 minutes of exercise consistently across the decades, you'd probably be in a wildly different position than you are right now in terms of your overall physical wellness. Mental as well, perhaps, right? So oftentimes we are so concerned with all or nothing that we're not willing to shrink the change. A 5 minute workout can be extremely powerful if it bridges you from one workout to the next, 1 week to the next. And what you're doing is you're accumulating rewards, you're accumulating interest for even the smallest deposits that you make. When I was a financial knucklehead and I had to get financial advisement to get my stuff together as a grown man, one of the first things I was taught is, hey, pay yourself first. And I thought the gentleman was a lunatic that was talking to me. I was like, well, yeah, I always pay myself. Like I get my check and I put it in the bank. And what he was insinuating to me is that you take a small percentage, right, and you save it away and you don't touch it. This is before you pay anyone else anything else. You pay yourself first. And I always thought, well, that's kind of dumb. What 10%, what's that going to do, right? Because I thought if I didn't have $1,000 to save, it was a waste of time saving money. This was my financial logic at the time. And what I've learned is the power of compounding interest. That was about 10, 15 years ago now. What I've learned is the power of compounding interest and the power of setting a habit that allows you to do at least a little something all the time instead of doing everything some of the time, which is not a great financial strategy. Thank you, Ada, which is not a great financial strategy. So a lot of times the women that I work with, again, because they're type A, they're excellent women like you. They're changing the world out there. They're fighting against wage gap and patriarchy and all the things, right? And you feel like if you're not taking a monumental step, I might as well not take a step at all. Why waste it, right? I want to take a big step. Ren, what do you mean a 5 minute workout, Ren? That's complete. That's beneath me. I go hard, Ren. I'm a grown woman. I can do 30 minutes, an hour. I need to do an hour. And what happens invariably is that you end up doing nothing. Thereby, no deposit happens. Thereby, no compounding interest happens. So, allowing yourself to realize that even the smallest workout that may bridge you from one workout to a next, or you might have a month's worth of 5 or 10 minute exercises, routines. It's absolutely fine. It's going to get you to where you want to go. So the next step in finding consistency, maintaining consistency, even when you're not motivated, is to shrink the change. Find the minimum effective dose. Find your bare ass minimum and commit to that. Even when you can't do everything, you can do something. The last tip that I'm going to give you in this regard is turning down the volume. The volume method is what I call it. And this is the last tip in terms of, I've got more things, but save those for my clients, wink, wink. And it's the volume method. And what I mean by that is invariably, hey, look, you're looking at a guy that was at work one day and got a call that his brother died of a massive heart attack. And then 4 years later, I'm minding my own business. I get a call that my sister dies in a car accident. 2 years after that, I'm trying to study to become a coach, and my mom dies. Right, and I knew that it was imminent as I was starting to become a coach. I was studying during her last days in an extended care facility because I knew as I got the news about her health that I was going to start going out to give health to other people. I'd always been into health, into fitness. Um, Things are going to happen, right? They're just going to. There's no way around it. I hate the phrase, when things calm down, I'll start doing so and so. Or when the kids get out of school, I'll start doing so and so. This is a sidebar, but you're not going to learn anything by waiting until the environment is absolutely perfect and controlled for you to attempt to make a change in your life. There's no education there because you haven't learned how to negotiate anything. The very best time for you to start any transformative process, no matter what it is when things are absolutely crazy. Because all you're going to learn is how to achieve something in a perfect environment. And as soon as that environment shifts, and it's going to shift, you're going to fall off whatever process you're in. I just want to make that clear. Back to what I'm talking about, things are going to happen, things are going to change, issues are going to arise, problems are going to present themselves, and oftentimes what we do is we think of our wellness process as a switch, right? We turn it on and off. Something happens, hit the switch, right? Fitness is off right now because I can't do things. Things get clear again. All right, I'm back into fitness 5 or 6 months later after I've lost the progress that I have. What I subscribe to is a volume method where you don't turn it off, you just turn it down a little bit at a time. So as you're turning down the volume, maybe you're not at a 9, 10, or 11 at that moment. Maybe you're at a 1, 2, or 3. That's acceptable, Facebook. That's acceptable, LinkedIn. That's acceptable, YouTube. That's acceptable, Instagram. You turn the volume down a little bit on your process. But you don't stop it. You don't turn it off. You just turn it down a little. So maybe you're 3 days a week, 1 hour in the gym each day. You're 2 days a week of cardiovascular conditioning. Maybe when crisis happens, that becomes a walk those 3 days. And the 2 days that you would normally do cardio, maybe that's a 5-minute meditation. You're still involved in your wellness practice. You're still connecting your consistency. You're still making deposits in that interest bearing account that will compound over time, but you're not doing it to the extent that you were because there's some situation that you need to address, right? So instead of cutting your fitness off when difficulty arises, and it will, think about the way that you can stay in the game that requires the least amount of effort, but allows you the most consistency so that you never have an actual break, a separation in your wellness practices because you're living an intention, right? So that's enough tips about this subject for today. I'm going to pay the bills one more time because I'm currently in my enrollment process this week. If you are a woman over 30 who wants to feel at home in her body again and wants to do that without restricting calories, without striking through foods and saying that they're off limits, without weighing, measuring food, or without putting food into a little opaque yellow or orange container and being told that's what you can eat. And if you want to do it without living in the gym, without making the gym your second home, um, and find some permanence in your solution, then what I do may be a good fit for you. It's called the Women's Liberation Movement. It's my signature 12-week program. Uh, if that sounds like something that interests you, DM me the word live, LIVE, or message me the word live on other platforms. Or if you have to, comment under this post live if you want to. That's okay. Um, and we'll have a quick chat, see if what I do might be a good fit for you. Enrollment ends this Sunday, October 1st. Orientation week will start next week on Monday, and then the program will start the Monday after that. Until next time, I'll be here tomorrow, Saturday, with another 8 a.m. live broadcast about some subject. Until next time, let's keep it simple. Thanks for showing up. And Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other Facebooks. Thanks for rocking with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's keep it simple.